Hello and welcome to your Arsenal versus Aston Villa preview on the Arsenal Bite Size podcast. I'm your host Clayton, and today I am delighted to welcome the Aston Villa Planet FPL correspondent Lee Jackson to the pod. Lee, welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size pod. How you doing?
Very good, Clayton. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Looking forward to getting into it with you. Might as well get it out of the way. Do you feel that you were the reason behind Arsenal not winning the league last season?
Yeah, kind of. I was saying this. I was talking to my dad earlier, who's a big Villa fan, and yeah, you look at it, don't you? And got the double over Arsenal. I mean, you were so close to bringing that title home in the end. It never works out quite like that. You can't be quite that simple in terms of just adding those points on. But yeah, if you'd have beaten us once last season, you'd have done it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know why I do it to myself bringing up these sort of questions, but it's one of them that I'm sure it will be in the headspace of people. But yeah, it is, you're right. It's one of them where I don't think it's ever as binary as that, but it's hard not to think of it in that way sometimes. And I remember the away game. I was actually in Dublin with my mates watching that, and my mates consist of a Liverpool fan, a Tottenham fan, and another Gooner. But so that one was painful, but it was the home one where I was obviously physically there. And I remember I think there was a Trossard real clear chance in the first half. Martinez pulled off a great save, and then I think the two goals were quite late from memory as well.
Yeah. We had Watkins ran through, and there's a little chip over the goalie for
Yeah,
the second
but
one.
yeah, I've clearly not done well putting it out of my headspace. But before we get into the actual preview, whenever we have guests on, I always like to get a little bit more of a backstory in terms of why they support the team they do and some of their highlights. So could you share a bit in terms of how you got into supporting Aston Villa and I guess a little bit in terms of what some of your highlights have been supporting the club?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of people, I wasn't really given a choice as to which team I support. It's in the blood. So my granddad was a Villa fan. Started going to see them in the 30s and 40s, and then my dad was inducted into the into the club, if you like, as a Villa fan too. And then when I was growing up, yeah, he got me down there at an early age. Had a season ticket when Martin O'Neill was in charge. We had a few really good seasons under Martin O'Neill. Got into Europe, and yeah, never looked back really. Just it was hard, I think, at school, especially when you had so many people who were Man United fans and Liverpool fans, the glory
In the
hunters at school.
Midlands?
Yeah,
Oh,
massively,
really? Okay.
massively. So, yeah, I didn't live near Aston or particularly close to Birmingham, that sort of half an hour drive away, but in the vicinity. And yeah, so many people that just, I'm a Man United fan. Right, okay. You ever been to Manchester? No, but big Man United fan. Of course you are.
Ha! Yeah, that's
So,
funny that because I was born and raised in North London and Peckham Reds. I know that's South London, but that's what everyone calls Man United fans in London. And yeah, it's in North London. There were so many of them growing up, so it's funny. It's not just in the south of the country; it's in the
no,
middle
it's
of it as well.
definitely not. It's like a disease sort of spread
Yeah,
out the country.
but yeah, you spoke about there like some of the seasons under Martin O'Neill. How's it been under Emery? I think amongst the Villa fans, he's a bit of a hero. It comes across.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's easy to forget we were 17th when he took over. Gerrard had started the season in shocking form. Gerrard's last game, we went to Fulham and got absolutely battered 3-0 and just looked completely lost. And at that point, at 17th, we were sort of 10, 11 games into the season. Villa fans were sort of quietly saying, are we in a relegation battle here?
It's easy to forget
this
that sort of
this
context.
is
Yeah.
not going well. And some Villa fans, the sort of more pessimistic ones, were like, yeah, we're in a relegation battle here. We're in trouble. We're in real trouble. So to take over and in half a season get us to seventh was just bonkers. And then obviously followed that up, maintained that level of performance, and got us into the Champions League. He's breaking all sorts of records. The one that I saw this week was like quickest manager to get to 60 wins as Villa manager, and he's top of the list in our entire history going back, as you can see in the anniversary kit, 150
Yeah, yeah.
years.
Fair play. And I guess, yeah, when you've achieved that and you've broken so many records under him as manager, it's hard to pinpoint one. But is there any one moment where you felt like you were, yeah, this is the guy for us, we're on the right track, or even a highlight that sticks out with you in his reign so far?
Yeah, it was in the same week as the Villa Arsenal game last season where we beat you at Villa Park 1-0. in that week, we beat City in the midweek as well, because we played City home, Arsenal home in the space of 3 days, won both. And the City game, it was obviously the title winning City team, champions, and we played them off the park. And lots of Villa fans said on that night, it's like, that is the best Villa performance I've ever seen. To do that to the champions, just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's one of them with Emery. You probably hear it a lot from Arsenal fans in terms of their opinion on him. As a person, I think he's harmless, but oh my god, some of the memories I've got of his time at Arsenal is probably one of the darkest periods in my Arsenal supporting head. But from taking that away from it, hearing about it from the Villa perspective, I am genuinely happy for him, and yeah, it's nice to hear fans kind of engaged with their club and encouraged where things are going in terms of overall supporting as a football fan of Aston Villa. Any highlights that come to mind for you other than the one beating City under Emery's era?
Yeah, I mean that was epic. I mean, I've been a bit unlucky, really. I mean, I talked to my old man who's 70 now, who's seen us win the European Cup. He was there in Rotterdam when we won the European Cup in '82, and he's seen us win the league a few times and seen us win the League Cup and all this.
And then you were born and it all
I've
stopped.
seen us get to finals, but every time it just ends in disappointment. So I've got more lowlights than highlights. I've certainly got one lowlight, which was our trip we did to Hamburg, which was when Martin O'Neill was in charge in the UEFA Cup back then. And it was quarterfinals, and we thought, oh, we're in for it here. We've got a chance of finally winning a trophy, a European trophy as well. And he put a reserve team out and said, look, well, he said since then that, look, I wanted to focus on getting top four. He put a reserve team out. We got battered 3-1 by Hamburg. We had a 12-hour coach journey there and back. And then at the weekend, we played Swansea at home and we lost. So the players that he'd saved to focus on the league, it didn't work at all. So,
I love how I asked for a highlight and I got that.
yeah, I've got plenty more lowlights than highlights, Clayton, I'm afraid.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, season so far, how are you feeling about things? You're obviously 7th in the league, 35 points, tied with City. But in the Champions League, you've absolutely, well, I was going to say smashed it. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but tough fixtures. You're 5th in the Champions League, obviously famously beat Bayern Munich on the first match day of the season. So how do you assess the overall Premier League and Champions League campaign so far this season?
Good. I think because we finished 4th last season, expectations just go up, and so many Villa fans are disappointed with this season, believe it or not, because they want us to see us back up at 4th or even better that. But with how well we've done juggling the Champions League and Premier League, it's easy to feel a bit deflated, I think, based on where we are in the Premier League. But you look at how close it is points-wise, we're within touching distance of that. It's going to be top 5 for Champions League. We're in touching distance of that.
You're 2 points off Chelsea, who are 5th.
Yeah. So it's so close up there that there's no panic. And actually, most Villa fans feel like we've sort of underperformed this first half of the season in terms of results, where last season we seemed to get the win. Things like Bournemouth at home, Brighton at home, where we've ended up drawing these games. Last season we'd have got the win. So actually, we feel a little bit disappointed with how it's gone. But when you look at the table, it's like, shit, we're still doing really well here.
Yeah, fair play. And is that still the objective then? Top 5?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. And let's turn attention to Saturday. Before we do that, just shout out to Uncle Mike, who's in the chat as always. Afternoon, mate. Hope you're good. If anyone's watching live and has any questions for Lee, whack them in.
I didn't realise we're live.
Yeah, I stitched you up there, didn't I?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't swear at me anymore. If you are watching this back on demand, though, whack in your comments, questions below, and we'll get to them after the episode.
And make sure you like the video. Click the like button.
Thank you. Yeah, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss when we go live. We'll be back on Sunday to review the game, and we always do weekly previews with an opposition fan or keeping it in house with Arsenal, and then weekly reviews as well. Turning attention to tomorrow, then. So before we get into the team news, what's the general feeling amongst Villa fans? You obviously, you mentioned already, beat us last season, did the double over us last season. We won away at Villa Park earlier this season. I was actually at that game. It was cool. It's my first time at Villa Park, actually, so I was quite happy finally tick off quite a famous stadium. But
Yeah.
yeah, what's the mood amongst Villa fans ahead of tomorrow?
I think we're feeling a bit more confident because we've had a few good results. We're on the back of three wins, two in the league, one in the FA Cup. December was tricky for us. Drawing at home to Brighton was disappointing. Losing at Newcastle, losing at Forest can happen, but yeah, it was tough. It was tough. So to get 3 wins on the spin now, I think we're feeling more optimistic. And even aside from last season, we've got quite a good record at the Emirates historically. But I don't think we're in any way underestimating how good this Arsenal side are on their day. But you have to look at that Arsenal team and say, with no Saka, it's a slightly different proposition because he's obviously such an incredible player. But yeah, I do think the players often have that in the back of their minds that we came here and won last season, and it does give them that little bit more confidence sometimes.
Yeah, no, makes sense. If you've kind of gone there, done it, got the evidence, it will 100% feed into your confidence and belief. In terms of team news, the team that beat Everton 1-0 midweek was Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings, Digne, midfield of Kamara, Anana, Tielemans, with Rodgers and Ramsey behind Watkins. Do you think are there any enforced changes we need to be aware of? Any injuries, or do you expect any changes to the 11 for tomorrow?
So the two that missed out in midweek due to injury, the significant ones were McGinn and Barkley. And we haven't had Emery's press conference yet as we record this Friday afternoon, but we will get a press conference. It's looking like McGinn is out for a while though, so Barkley may be involved, but McGinn is probably out. Pau Torres is still out; he's going to be out for a while. So, but what's really interesting about this, the Villa-Everton game, was we didn't make any subs, which is really unusual for
None
Emery.
at all. Okay.
So Ian Maatsen, Leon Bailey, John Duran, all on the bench that would normally be involved in most Premier League games, didn't get on at all. So I think there's a high chance that 1, 2, or 3 of those could be in the starting 11. I'd certainly think that Dean probably needs a rest and Maatsen will come in there at left back.
Sure. And who were the other two? Sorry, Duran for Watkins, possibly, and who was the other?
Bailey.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, well, he bloody scored against us last season, didn't he? So.
Yeah. So I think Maatsen and Bailey come in. Duran, I'm less sure because we've seen how good Duran can be from the bench. I'd be quite tempted to just leave him on the bench and think, yeah, let's get him on for half an hour on some tired legs. And also Watkins off the ball stuff against a team like Arsenal will be really helpful, I think.
I think that's the one thing I noticed with I've not watched Duran as closely as I have Watkins, just by sheer like volume of games Watkins has played. But like whenever we've played against Villa, Watkins seems to like really run the channels, try drag the centre backs out of position. I don't know if Duran does that as well.
I think he's getting there, but
Okay.
no, he doesn't. I think when he first came into the side, that's why we saw very little of Duran, because it's like all this stuff Watkins does off the ball. It's all well and good being a good finisher, Duran, but you need to do that stuff as well. And I think he's getting there now. And when I watch him now, I do see him putting those miles in, really pressing defenders and putting pressure on the goalie when they've got the ball. So I think he's getting there, but Watkins is still a level above in terms of that distance covered in every game. You'd see Watkins is right up there. He really does press well.
Okay, interesting. And if Bailey was to come in, who do you think that would be for?
I think it'd be Ramsey that comes out.
I was hoping you'd say Rodgers, just because Rodgers at Villa Park, he was running off the back of Partey consistently. Yeah. He looked brilliant in that game.
Rodgers is just phenomenal. He's one of the first names on that team sheet now. He's just an incredible prospect. It feels mad, actually, that he's only been with us 12 months. We got him January last year. It feels like time flies because he's just had such an incredible 12 months with the club.
And Maatsen possibly in for Digne. How would you describe the differences between the two of them in terms of the profile at left back, or are they quite similar in your opinion?
Well, we haven't seen that much of Maatsen this season, which surprised a lot of Villa fans actually, because we paid a decent amount of money for him in the summer. But Luca Dean's been brilliant, and so actually he's kind of held on to that shirt. I think from what I've seen of him at Dortmund and from the bits that we've seen in a Villa shirt, he's more offensive. He's more like a left winger that wants to bomb on than Dean. Dean is happy to bomb on and he can be attacking, but I don't think he's got that ability to beat a man and put a cross in quite like Maatsen does.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit when we get to our score predictions, how we think the game will go. But the one thing I always associate with this Villa team is energy, like, and power. Obviously, not to kind of negate from technique, but like that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I don't know, like I'm a little bit worried about this game tomorrow. Well, I say a little. No, I'm quite worried because we look fatigued at the minute, and like Wednesday took a lot out of the players, like emotionally and physically. And like as soon as the full time whistle went, Odegaard was on the floor.
Mm,
Havertz looked like he was gassed out. Timber went off against Man United in the cup with cramp. I can't remember if he played the full 90 midweek or not, but still, like we don't have Ben White or Tomiyasu there at the minute. So I think a side like Villa, yeah, makes me nervous because you look at the amount of legs in that team. Yeah, so one to keep an eye on. But the thing that made me say that was I'm bloody glad McGinn's not there because he's someone that I think always puts
mm,
in an incredible shift. I always notice it in every other game that I watch of Villa, but especially against Arsenal, I obviously notice it a lot more because I'm watching it with my football club there. But yeah, glad McGinn's not there. But yeah, strong Villa side. Turning it to Arsenal, was there anything that I missed from Villa?
no, all good, mate.
Cool. Turning it to Arsenal, I think team news wise, there wasn't much of an update. Arteta didn't say anything officially, but there's been a few of these kind of Twitter ITKs rumoring that Ben White and Tomiyasu have been training on the grass. I don't think they'll quite make it for the matchday squad, but outside of thinking of tomorrow from the Arsenal perspective, if they can be in and around the squad soon, especially we've got Dynamo Zagreb midweek, like that would be a fantastic game where we can try and rest the likes of Timber and some of the others in the team, the centre backs possibly, because like I said, I think this Arsenal squad is running thin at the minute. So yeah, but in terms of tomorrow, I don't think there'll be any other changes other than one, which I think will be Martinelli will come in for Sterling, and that's why I was intrigued on the kind of left back conversation and what to expect with Digne or Matson there, because yeah, I think Martinelli will come in for Sterling, but I don't really think we have the ability to change much else at the minute.
Mm.
Um,
How did Sterling get on in the Tottenham game? Because I didn't watch that much.
I think if you ask different Arsenal fans, you'll get different answers. In my opinion, I thought he was rewinding to the Man United FA Cup game. I thought he came on and looked really encouraging in 15 minutes or so. But then Malacia came on and kind of locked him down after that. So I don't know if it was just an element of something new, unpredictable, where it's like, oh wow, we haven't seen that for a while. Against Tottenham, I thought he started encouraging. He started fast. But then it looked like he kind of phased out and then kind of looked devoid of confidence or self belief in what he was doing. And then, to be honest, I was a bit worried about the reception he was going to get around me because you could tell Arsenal fans haven't taken to him anyway. I think because he's Chelsea.
Mm,
And I'm someone that, regardless of where a player has been or come from, when they've got the Arsenal shirt on, they're one of my players and I will
of
support them.
course. Yeah.
But I'm a little bit concerned about how some of the fans, especially in the ground, are going to take to him. So to answer your question, started okay, but really disappointing if I had to analyze it overall. So I
Mm.
think Martinelli will come back in. Miles Lewis-Skelly was my man of the match from Wednesday, even though Gabriel officially got it. He was incredible. So looking forward to seeing how he deals with another challenging opponent, whether it's Ramsey, Rogers, or Bailey.
Oh, we're back.
Sorry about that, everyone. I have no idea what happened. Went downstairs and the internet router was turned off. So yeah, it's all
Well, I shit
showbiz.
myself because I thought it was me, Clayton, and I was like, "Oh no, my Wi-Fi's gone."
Wasn't you? So I'm hotspotting off my phone, but we're nearly at the end section anyway. So fingers crossed it holds up. But yeah, thank you for putting the comment in the chat, Lee. Technical difficulties, it was indeed. Pontus joined us in the middle of all of that afternoon. I can't remember where I was with that. I feel like it was on the kind of Martinelli Sterling discussion.
Yeah, you
No,
were talking
midfield.
about the challenge of Matson, Dean, which one of them comes up against Sterling, and then yeah, you've moved on to midfield, I think.
Yeah, that was it. I'll just in a sentence. Party Rice Odegaard feels like the best midfield. Whenever we look competent offensively, it's with Party at the base. I just wonder if Arteta will be thinking about like a Marino in there for the kind of jewels and stuff. I feel like that is a game I can see when it comes to Villa and that midfield battle and stuff. But yeah, in terms of the predicted team, though, I'm going for the same. I think it will be the same 11 as Wednesday night, but just Martinelli in for Sterling. Are there any questions that you've got on kind of Arsenal side or anything before we get into the score predictions?
No, well, how old's Lewis-Skelly? Because he's the name that
He's
I think a lot will be less familiar with in there.
Yeah, so he's 18 years old, and for like, yeah, you're right. I guess there'll be Villa fans that may have only kind of seen him this week. So he's been he's an Arsenal boy through and through. He's been through the whole Hale End Academy system. I've actually watched him myself for the under it's not called the under 21s anymore, but I watched him for the academy because I don't live too far from Boreham Wood, which is where our academy plays, and he was always a 6 or an 8 in the academy. And Arteta even spoke about it in his press conference today. He said like he spoke to the academy coach and said if he wants a pathway to the first team, we're going to have to change his position. And he's kind of doing that Zinchenko role of that inverted fullback. But you've probably heard me say this on Planet FPL before. I'm always quite guarded when it comes to my excitement on youth players, just because I feel like there's so many factors that can influence their
Yeah,
trajectory. But my God, it's hard not to be excited by this kid. He's got the technical ability, obviously, to be playing in the first team, but it's the physicality as well. Like he rides a tackle incredibly well. This isn't my own words, but like respected journalists and opposition fans and Arsenal fans are saying like the way he moves, he's got a similarity to Moussa Dembele in there, and even Jurriën Timber, where like he drops the shoulder turns and creates space for himself. Really, really exciting. Obviously, there'll be bumps in the road inevitably. There'll be wingers that get the best of him, but he's 18 years old to answer your question, and yeah, he's an incredible talent. So yeah,
I mean,
blessed to have found.
any
Sorry, mate.
18-year-old that's starting for Arsenal is just you've got to be doing something right, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. So to have found him, Waneri, Saka, obviously is from Hale End as well, despite being injured at the minute. Yeah, super pleased to have found him. So yeah, that's what I think the 11 will be, which takes us on to the tasty bit. If you're live in the chat, let us know what your score prediction is for the game tomorrow. And also let us know what your score prediction is for Brentford versus Liverpool. That's at 3:00. Arsenal play Aston Villa at 5:30. I'm gutted. I can't make it. My foot injury is bad. The damage was done already, but I made it worse by attending the North London derby on Wednesday. And the carnage has resulted in an elongated injury. But yeah, if you're live, let us know your score predictions. Let us know if you have any questions for Lee before we get out of here. And if you're watching this back on demand, let us know your comments and thoughts ahead of the game in the comments below. Lee, you said earlier you were kind of feeling confident. The mood amongst Villa fans is, positive. You spoke about the evidence being there of like you've kind of done it before, coming to the Emirates and winning. How do you see the game going tomorrow before you actually give the score prediction?
I think it'll be tight. Our Everton game on Wednesday night was the first away clean sheet we've kept since we came to your place last season in April.
Wow.
We
Okay.
hadn't kept an away clean sheet all season. We've only kept 2 clean sheets in the Premier League at home as well. So we've been pretty leaky defensively this season. I think we looked miles better now that we've got Kamara and Mings back in the side. So Kamara and
Kamara
Mings
is a player. I forgot about
both
him.
missed the start of the season. Yeah, he got man of the match in the Everton game, and he's been really important to us, solidifying defensively. And Mings doesn't have what Torres does in terms of the ability to play the ball out quite as well and ping large diagonals, but Mings is certainly a colossus in the air and wins everything. So with that in mind, I think, and your absence of Saka, I think it could be quite a low-scoring game. And I am going to go 1-0 Arsenal.
1-0. Okay, I thought you were going to go towards a draw there. So you still think Arsenal will win it, but like
I
only
do.
slightly, just nick it.
Yeah, I think you're going to edge it, but I don't think that's any shame on Villa to go to Arsenal and lose. It's no mean feat. A lot better sides than us have gone to Arsenal and lost.
I'm interested in the side of the prediction where you don't think you'll score. What's your thinking behind that one?
Yeah, I think you've got the best defence in the league. I know Forest are topping the clean sheet at the moment, but anyone who watched the Forest Wolves game will have been thinking
that first
how
half.
Did they come, how did they come out of that with a clean sheet? So there's always going to be a little bit of luck involved in these stats. And yeah, I do think you've got the best defence in the league. I think it'd be really tough.
Okay,
that's not to say that our attack isn't bad. We've scored plenty of goals this season, but yeah, 1-0 for me.
fair play. I'm going 2-1 to the Arsenal, but I think you'll score. The reason why is like I agree on the defense. It's tied into something else I said earlier in terms of like the fatigue. I do feel like this Arsenal team is on the verge of like physically breaking at the minute, and I am concerned about the toll that Wednesday would have taken. There's been periods in games recently where I've described it as like we don't look bad in transition, but there's a lot more green space for the opposition to run into than usual, and it's not necessarily translating into clear chances conceded, which I think is why it's not really in the headspace of everyone right now. Because in general football, like people don't notice things until it hits the back of the net, right? But I've been sat there a little bit concerned by some of the space that the opposition has had in the last few games, and I think you're a side that is best equipped to take advantage of that more than anyone in the league, to be honest, in terms of the energy and how you break fast and wide. Go on, I feel like you were going to say something there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So do you think you're weaker defensively this season than last season?
No, I think we're weaker defensively in this period at the minute, though. Yeah, I think it's a
Okay,
knock-on
just going
impact of
through a
a
tough
toll of
patch.
yeah.
Oh, I was going
I
to ask
think so.
on when you were speaking about Lewis-Skelly, actually. Is he first choice now?
I'd say it's his shirt to lose. Yeah, I think Calafiori's injured anyway. But like the
Okay.
way Lewis-Skelly's been performing, it would be incredibly harsh for him to be dropped. So yeah, I'd say right now it's definitely his shirt to lose. Yeah, but bringing it back to the score prediction, yeah, I definitely think Villa will score. But I've gone 2-1. I just think it's one of them where I don't think it will be a game where. Yeah, I think it will be low scoring as well. I almost don't think it will be a necessarily hugely exciting game. I could see it being a game of chess. I've always thought Emery in like a one-off big game, master tactician. He'll come up with a plan, 100%. I think it'll be quite cagey in periods, and I think this is a game where Arsenal haven't been clinical at all. But we're going to have to be clinical because I don't think we're going to carve you open relentlessly and create loads of high quality chances. So going to have to take the couple that we do. And put them away. So yeah, I've got 2-1 Arsenal, but I think it will be tight. Mike Alpin, Uncle Mike's got 2-1 Arsenal. He's also got 1-1 Liverpool. So yeah, that will be absolute scenes if
You'd
that
take
happens.
that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and this is what if that happens and I'm not there tomorrow, I'm gutted because I can only imagine what the atmosphere will be. We'll end with just one question before we get out of here. Well, it will probably tie into two. One is, what do you think the Brentford Liverpool score will be?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I hadn't given any thought to that. I mean, Brentford this season have scored a lot and conceded a lot, so high scoring on the basis of that. Probably both sides to score. I could probably see maybe a 3-1 Liverpool.
Oh, don't say that, boo. No, fair
Sorry.
play. Fair play. And
What about
second
you?
is I'm going for a Desmond Tutu in that game. I think Liverpool, I never doubt Liverpool's ability to create chances and score. And to be honest, in the Forest game, they deserve to win. I don't know how they didn't win that. But I think they are a team that has vulnerabilities, and I think Brentford are a team that I actually feel confident can exploit that. So I'm going for a Desmond Tutu in that. But the second and final question is the league title. Who do you think is going to go the distance and do it?
It's hard to not say Liverpool, isn't it?
Fair
And
play.
I'm probably going to take the safe route and say Liverpool. What I would say is, I think if there's any side that's going to challenge them, it's most likely to be Arsenal.
Fair play.
I don't see Chelsea being good enough and consistent enough to stay up there. City are too far adrift now. So yeah, and I would be quite happy to see Arsenal win the league. I think you've got a lot of likable players. Like, it's very hard to dislike Saka and Odegaard and people like that. Whereas
Hey,
other
you are a
teams,
very refreshing fan to speak to. Honestly, I feel like every fan I speak to fucking hates us. So yeah, thank you.
no, I've got no animosity against Arsenal, and you always give us 3 points regularly, so that's always appreciated.
What a bastard. The best backhanded compliment I've ever seen. Lee, been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for coming on. Wish you all the best of luck for tomorrow. Where can people follow you on the socials and ask you which Villa defender to buy for their FPL teams?
Yeah, if you want to ask me which Villa defender I prefer on FPL, feel free. Lee_Jackson_92 on Twitter. And have a look in my bio first before you inbox me, and you might just find what you're looking for.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, ladies and gents, thanks a lot for watching. Go and give Lee a follow. Check his timeline for all things Villa and Villa with an FPL lens as well. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. As we said already, give the stream a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss when we go live. And if you're listening on audio, a 5-star review goes a long way. Lee, thanks a lot. Good luck tomorrow. Up the Arsenal.
Thanks for having
Come
me.
on. Cheers.